region?
Well, I think what you'd see really is Israel's fighting 7 wars. That's according to Netanyahu. So I think what we're seeing now, the latest, is the actions between Iran and Israel.
Yeah.
And it's pretty well debatable what will come as the outcome of it. So now it's quite likely if the US gets involved, now that's going to suck more countries in the Middle East. So we've just seen overnight that some of the militias in Iraq are now saying if the US gets involved, then they'll attack the bases there. And if you get a spread of it also, that now starts to affect the global economy. Given the global economy is so weak at the moment, I think we need to take caution wherever we can.
Again, I'm going to be robust in my response, if I may. The US is already involved. Now, okay, B-3 bombers are not dropping bunker busters on Pickaxe Mountains, what have you. But the US weaponry is highly involved. US defence infrastructure is highly involved in defending Israel. US intelligence is highly involved in the Israeli actions on Iran as well. Okay, the US directly isn't sending its fighters, although we know that the Nimitz aircraft carrier group is going to the area, so they have 2 aircraft carrier groups in the region. But the US is highly involved already. It's just not dropping the bombs themselves.
Well, there's a big difference between supplying weapons, which many, many countries do to Israel, and another one with actually putting your troops on the ground and fighting. Now, we can look at the, well, let's say, regime change in Iran. Now, if we go back and we have a look at the last few places we've tried regime change, it's turned out to be terrible. Think about Iraq, think about Syria, think about Libya. And they have all caused flow-on effects into other parts of the world. If you went to the Sahel, for example, and you looked at the terrorist activity in the Sahel, a lot of that's a direct related...
But we can't leave Iran to create a nuclear weapon in the region, can we?
Oh, I'm totally opposed to having nuclear weapons in the region. In fact, the less nuclear weapons, the better. Israel is the only country at the moment with the nuclear weapons in the region. But according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, they think they're a few years away. Even US intelligence is saying that. So do we need to start a war now? Maybe not.
So to the point as to what happens over the next fortnight, we've got about a 2-week window effectively where negotiations happen or a decision is made to press the button after the formal plans of a strike on Iran have been approved by the president. What do you make of what could happen in backchannels behind the scenes?
Well, I think it's difficult to know. I think the world's guessing at where President Trump's mind's at. And I think if you look inside Magna, you'll find that maybe half the members there of his core constituency are opposed to further foreign engagements. But on the other hand, there's a very, very strong element within his camp too, which is very pro-Israel. So at this stage, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. But what I would hope is that all sides pull back, because the outcome of war is horrific. Just look at Gaza.
You mentioned some of the actors behind the scenes in terms of the Supreme Leader and what could be taking place if there is regime change. And there is a view that the Revolutionary Guard has been fairly strong and pivotal in keeping the Supreme Leader in place. If there were to be fractures here, what sort of consolidation of power could we see by these particular very strong armed military in terms of taking power in Iran?
Well, it could be that you end up with people even more radical. Now, if you're looking at the population of Iran, there was a lot of people who were dissatisfied with the government. The economic performance hasn't been good. They're not happy with a lot of the religious crackdowns on the free speech and the way people dress. And so all of this just unites the nation around a common enemy.
In terms of something you mentioned right at the top, Steve, and this was the increase in military spending in the region. We've seen a huge increase, and a lot of it obviously has been directed at US munitions being bought by Qatar, Kuwait, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and pretty much the whole of the GCC as well. None of these nations have, I mean, there was a conflict with the Saudi and the Houthis, but actually none of this weaponry is being used against Iran or has been used at any stage as well. Do you have concern that actually other nations will be dragged into this on one side or t'other? Because it seems to me that the GCC, despite having this enormous weaponry available, is actually pretty adept at staying out of these conflicts.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the oil-rich nations like Saudi, UAE, Qatar, they're not interested in getting involved in any conflict.
So why do they buy all this weaponry?
Well, I think it's the insurance. I think a lot of it's insurance, yeah. So, but if we look over the last decade, for example, the two countries on a per capita basis who've got the most weapons have been Iran and Israel.